One Indianapolis this week. The firestorm of controversy over Planned Parenthood, the fallout from the state investigation, and the new push in Congress to cut off money to the organization. Plus, misguided leadership, misplaced priorities. The public rebuke for Indianapolis Power and Light. Now a top IPL executive joins us to answer questions about that proposed rate increase. And across the aisle, Governor Pence names a former Democratic candidate for governor to a top economic post. How will that shake up the 2016 campaign?
From RTV6, the Indy Channel, this is Indianapolis This Week with Rafael Sanchez.
Thank you for joining us today and for engaging us on social media on our Twitter account at Indy This Week. We start with that enormous controversy surrounding Planned Parenthood. 4 videos now released by an anti-abortion group claiming Planned Parenthood was selling the organs of aborted fetuses. An investigation ordered by Governor Pence found no violations of state law by Planned Parenthood in Indiana. That word coming out on Thursday. We caught up with the governor on Friday, who says he's pleased with the investigation.
I thought it was important for us to be able to reassure Hoosiers that the practices that are alleged in those videos are not taking place in the state of Indiana.
And now in a statement, Planned Parenthood tells RTV6 that it reiterated that the Indiana chapter does not participate in the tissue donation program. It goes on to say perhaps now Indiana's executive leadership will focus on measures such as teen pregnancy prevention and reducing the cycle of poverty to truly advance the dream of thriving Hoosier families. Now, the issue takes center stage in Washington tomorrow as the Senate is scheduled to vote on a measure to block funding for Planned Parenthood. Our Jason Fechner is right now joins us with Senator Dan Coates. Jason?
We're joined this morning by Senator Dan Coates. Senator, thanks so much for being here.
Nice to be here.
You called on the Senate floor Tuesday to defund Planned Parenthood. Why did you make that call?
I think what was produced there in terms of what Planned Parenthood is engaged in relative to this harvesting of body parts was so shocking and so unnecessary to be funded by the taxpayer when an alternative exists to provide for women's care through community health centers. There was a solution to this problem. And I just don't think it's right for the taxpayer to be having to fund something of this nature. I think it's a barbaric practice. It has shocked everyone, including even Hillary Clinton, who said it's very disturbing what is happening here. There is a solution to this, and that is providing needed medical support and health care support for women through community health centers that don't engage in abortion and don't engage in these techniques. And so the vote before us Monday, when I go back, will be transferring that taxpayer money out of Planned Parenthood into community health centers so the same procedures other than abortion can be provided to women. And I think it's a very sensible way of addressing this issue. I think I was shocked. I think everyone was shocked when we saw these practices taking place, which I think is inappropriate.
If that measure were to pass Monday, how quickly could that be put into action?
Well, as you know, we have a complicated procedure. It's got to go to the House of Representatives. The Senate will be in session next week. The House is adjourned for August. And so the earliest they could take it up is when they come back in September. But I think it sends a very important statement, if it is passed, that we're not going to tolerate this. Taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for this. And hopefully we will succeed on Monday with that. But you never know till you get there and count the votes.
Let's change gears now and talk about Iran. You are urging Congress to reject the deal that's on the table right now. Why are you urging Congress to reject that deal?
Well, the more I get into this, the more I wonder how we ever ended up with this bad deal. But just virtually every goal that was set out from the beginning, Iran cannot have the capability of moving toward a nuclear weapon. We would have inspections anytime, anywhere. There would be no secret agreements. On it goes. And we ended up with conceding just about everything that we were trying to accomplish. The consequences of this are so potentially horrendous that I think signing on to something like this, which essentially preserves Iranian infrastructure and will give them the nuclear weapon, destabilize the Middle East, be a threat to national security. And here's a country that supports terrorism. We're giving them over $100 billion. A lot of that will continue to support this kind of terrorism. In fact, they've went give them credit. They went straight out and said, "Oh, we're not giving up on any of that." It loosens and releases all of the sanctions. I just think we entered into a very, very bad deal. And this, what the administration is trying to say, well, a bad deal's better than war. That is a false statement in terms of what our options could be if we didn't do this. And so, for whatever reasons, the President and his Secretary of State conceded on things that they absolutely said had to be in that agreement. And the more I plow into this, and I've literally pored over every word of this agreement, and I'm on the Intelligence Committee, so I've seen all of the classified information. I just simply can't support it.
You mentioned options if Congress were not to pass the deal that's on the table right now. What would those options be?
Well, the options have been ever ratcheting sanctions. Iran really was on its knees with its economy, and it brought them to the table. And if we send a very strong message from the 6 major countries of the world that we're going to continue these sanctions and even ratchet them up, we simply are not going to allow you to end up with an agreement that gives you nuclear weapons capability. And that was the goal of 4 previous presidents, including this president, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. It's unacceptable that we allow Iran to end up with nuclear weapons capability. This agreement is a pathway to that ability.
Senator Coates, we thank you for your time this morning. Safe travels back to Washington this week.
Thank you much. Good talking to you.
Thank you too. Rafael?
Jason, thank you. The other big story involves your electric bill and IPL's rate hike request and that blistering report from the state's utility consumer counselor. The office recommending that IPL's $67 million request be slashed by more than 90%, accusing the utility of putting profits ahead of customers. The report going so far to say that IPL has the money it needs to do needed repairs, but the evidence also tells a story of misguided leadership and misplaced priorities. Those are their words, with critical downtown infrastructure needs taking a backseat to shareholder dividends. As we now welcome in Greg Fennig, Vice President at IPL, what is your response to that blistering report from the OUCC?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us on. And we at IPL are really, really proud of our track record. We have the lowest rates of the top 20 cities in America. We have in the top 10% in reliability in the United States. And so we think that we're providing great value to our customers. So when you talk about those kinds of things, I think it's important for people to understand the process. There is a process that we go through that's a court-like process for all of the investor-owned electric utilities to determine anything that we can do with rates. And so the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission is the unbiased finder of fact. And they will take all this information and they will boil it down to make their decision. And so you have a number of different organizations that have their own views on what needs to take place, what the issues are, and then they submitted all that on July the 27th. We then will submit our rebuttal testimony on September the 4th, and then the IURC will again be the unbiased finder of fact versus opinions or folklore or anything else like that to determine what's best. But again, I think that when we look at things, we look at it and say, we've got a great track record, and we have not gone in for a base rate increase in now 20 years. And when we talk about base rate increase, it's really about those things that are like insurance, customer service expense, reliability expense, fuel for our vehicles, those kinds of things that we haven't gone in for a rate increase for nearly 20 years.
If you get the 67.7, what's it for?
What it's for is to get the return back to the company that ends up being in line with what is expected to be a return for a utility in Indiana. And again, it's balancing all those issues. Again, I think people need to understand that we've really got a great environment here in Indiana. We have a number of companies that want to operate here in Indiana. It's a great business environment. That's why we brought the AES U.S. headquarters to Indiana, because it's a great business environment. And the fact that IPL has the lowest residential rates of the top 20 cities in America shows that we can balance those things effectively.
You know that every time there's been an underground situation, I've reported on those.
Yes, you have.
I've also reported that you've spent millions on inspections. You've also spent millions on the underground network following those underground explosions. Is that $67 million to recoup all the work you've done when it comes to inspections and upgrading the network?
Yeah, yes, it goes to recoup a lot of those expenses. But again, going back to the downtown network, you know that we had an outside third-party auditor that came in that found that the operation, maintenance, and design of the downtown network is sound. And they also said that the risk for Indianapolis residents is very low. One of the things that we're doing that helps to prevent any kind of impact when those occurrences do happen is the locking manhole covers. There are 1,216 manholes downtown Indianapolis, and to date we've put locking manhole covers on 832.
But DOUCC even says you're not doing that fast enough.
Well, the numbers that they used were pretty old numbers. We're actually ahead of pace. We made a commitment to get that done by the end of the year, and you know, so right here we're now at the beginning of August, and we're more than 2/3 of the way done.
You're also asking your customers to go to your website and really look at the entire plan to see what you're doing.
Exactly.
So you're encouraging people to self-educate before they make a decision.
Absolutely. I mean, bottom line is for an average IPL customer, they're talking about a little less than $8 a month if the IURC approves all that. So we're asking people to go to iplpower.com. They can go online. They can actually put in what their usage is, and they can see what the increase would be. And then there's also a number of tools to help them manage their utility better. Being able to reduce the amount of energy they use is by far the best way that they can manage their utility bill. And we've got lots of programs and tips on our website to be able to help them do that.
Greg Fennick with IPL, thank you so much. You're welcome
Thank you.
to come back anytime on the program. She'll have many more questions for you on this very issue. Thank you so much. It is a bombshell announcement that could have a big impact on the race for governor. What's the real impact from the Jim Schellinger appointment? Our political insiders next on Indianapolis This Week. Welcome back as we bring in our political insiders, Lauren Beck, Abdul Hakim Shabazz, and of course, Mary Beth Schneider. Let's get right to it, of course. We start with that bombshell this week as Governor Mike Pence appointed a Democrat and former candidate for governor to lead the state's Economic Development Corporation. We're talking about Jim Schellinger is taking on the job just as the state recovers from the controversy surrounding the Religious Freedom Act. Schellinger is also a vocal supporter of the LGBT rights. This is what he had to say.
We always will portray ourselves as a state that everyone is welcome in. We're going to continue that. That's been resonating. The fact that the statistics came in June and they're still very strong, I think we've got some work to do, but we're going to work together. And for me, it's all about the jobs.
Abdul Hakim Shabazz, what does this mean?
Actually, brilliant move by Governor Mike Pence.
You people were literally giddy on social media.
Some of us actually had an idea that this was coming earlier that day.
Yeah, I read the cheat sheet.
Yeah, and it wins on 3 counts. Number 1, bipartisanship, because everybody's just sort of fed up with D.C., so you have a Republican governor picking a Democrat. Jim Schellinger has impeccable credentials when it comes to jobs, job creation, LGBT-friendly, which helps with the whole future conversation about a statewide human rights ordinance. And here's the thing. Democrats can no longer attack the governor on the jobs issue come next year, because with Schellinger at the helm, what do you do? Well, the governor says, well, a Democrat who ran for governor on jobs, by the way, in 2008, is helping us with our job creation. So now you're going after your own people. It's three-dimensional chess.
Is the governor shielded, Lara?
Oh, I think that, well, first of all, I think, you know, hiring somebody like Jim Schellinger, who is a proven job creator within his own business, CSO Architects, I think he'll do an exceptionally good job in that role. And I think it also speaks to the fact that they need to bring a Democrat in to help with their credibility a little bit on the jobs, especially when they start talking about numbers and rankings and things like that. I don't think, though, that, I mean, I think it's wishful thinking. You can say, oh, Jim Schellinger for the next, you know, will be responsible for all of Mike Pence's jobs numbers over the last 4 years. I mean, it rests with Governor Pence, not with Jim Schellinger. So I think it's a little disingenuous to make that suggestion.
Mary Beth, did this just cost Laura's party money?
This absolutely cost Laura's party money. He's done a couple $100,000 for Democrats over the years, a former Democratic candidate for governor. He probably, you know, would maybe have not have gotten involved already in the governor's race, but he would have gotten involved perhaps in other Democratic races, and now he is off the table. But I don't think it shields Pence on anything, because the line will be, you know, things were so bad he had to call in a Democrat to fix things. And also it is going to continue to put a lantern, I think, on some of the problems that Pence has had, including with LGBT.
Well, and we're getting ready to, I mean, we are hosting Gen Con. Gen Con is here, and they're already saying we're looking at other cities. And so I think that as much as they want to move away from RFRA, it just still comes back to them. And I think even bringing in a Democrat isn't going to get people to not talk about RFRA.
Usually she gives the evil eye to Abdul. She gave you the evil eye.
Did I really?
When you talked about that her party was going to lose money. Is it a lot of money? I mean, did the governor just poke an eye in the campaigns of John Gregg and Glenda Ritz and Karen Tallien?
I mean, think about it. All John Gregg's money has come from unions. Karen Tallien can't raise money, and Glenda Ritz can't even raise $30,000 without screwing up paperwork and being investigated by the election division.
I'm glad you brought that up. So what does that mean? So
somebody's feeling a little sassy over here
great
today.
Segue. A formal complaint filed against the Ritz for Governor campaign. What does that really mean? We try to reach out to that person in Boone County who filed that complaint. We have yet to hear from them, but is this a big deal?
It is and it isn't. I mean, the Indiana's Election Commission honestly doesn't do very much. They have 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and they hardly ever really slap anybody down. But the problem for her more is the public perception that she can't get anything right, including her own campaign fundraising, and that's why it looks bad.
I mean, let me think about it. I mean, all you had to do was raise $30,000 and report it in the proper way. And to just go back and say, well, we didn't raise on the first day of session, which is illegal. We raised it on the Saturday before session. I mean, if you can't even get $30,000 right, how can anybody expect you to responsibly run a $33 billion enterprise, which is the state of Indiana?
Laura, you get the last word on this one.
Well, so much of politics is public perception. It really is. And I think, Mary Beth, I didn't give you the evil eye on that one. Because
I saw 2 evil eyes.
Well, I got to really work on my delivery here. But so much of politics is public perception, and that is unfortunate when you're this early in the campaign. It is early, though, so I think voters may have a short memory.
We only have 30 seconds left, but next week, of course, the first Republican GOP debate, that's going to be like fireworks, right?
Yes.
I think this is why people hate politics, because it's so, it's like celebrity deathmatch.
That's why I love politics.
I know, but I mean, I think it's...
This is the opportunity for Jeb Bush to show that he's grown up in the room, and for Donald Trump to be, once again, the clown right in the back of the bus.
And one final question on the issue
I stand by my Children of the Corn comment,
we just saw a video of Planned Parenthood. Who was the winner or loser in that? Of course, the governor asked for an investigation into the Planned Parenthood clinics. They were found to be A-OK. Is that good news or bad news for the governor?
Well, I think I mean, he's pandering to his base with something like that. They were very clear that they don't engage in the practice.
There was no evidence to ever show that Indiana Planned Parenthood was doing anything, so it is what it is.
The conversation between our insiders continues, of course, on Twitter. Check out their Twitter handles and give us your opinion. Come on. They want to hear from you. All right, Beth, of course, Lara, Abdul, Dan, and Jennifer throughout the week. And make sure you follow us on our official Twitter account at Indy This Week and stay up to date on all political news 24/7. When we come back, a Sunday morning exclusive, Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann on the new request for help for Indiana farmers hit so hard by this summer's massive rains. That's next on Indianapolis This Week. Back to Indianapolis this week, from tourism to military bases to overseeing the state senate and even the state fair. They're all the responsibilities of Indiana's lieutenant governor. And joining us now on the program, Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann on our program today. Of course, on this Sunday morning, your thoughts are with the state's farmers as you seek a federal disaster declaration in 53 counties because of all the rain we've had. What's going on?
Right. Well, I think all Hoosiers have been there and seen it. We've just had excessive amounts of rain, and it's come in droves in some of those communities, and this declaration really does provide some relief for those farmers who are most hard hit by those rains. And it has just been an extraordinary summer for agriculture, and you know, my heart just goes out to all the farmers out there, and this declaration will help make them eligible for loans and other aid that will assist in trying to make them whole. They've done their part, they've planted the fields, they've done all they can, and now this is a way that we can assist in getting federal government aid.
Sometimes the federal government does not listen to the request. Is the state then prepared to help farmers in some capacity should the government, federal government say either we don't have the money or we don't meet the level of damage?
Well, in this case, we work very diligently with the federal government, and so in that work, we believe that we've made a strong case and that these counties, the 50-some counties that we know as of today, will be eligible, and we will certainly, absolutely. In Indiana, we have such a strong agricultural community, and all of those of us, state, as well as other Farm Bureau and all the resources, we will absolutely work together to ensure that our farmers can continue to come through this, just as we did 3 years ago when the drought hit. You know, we have a very resilient, strong agricultural community, and I'm very confident that we'll move forward as we always do as Hoosiers.
And next week we'll be celebrating the Year of the Farmer
yes.
at the Indiana State Fair. You know, besides all the good food at the fair and the rides, really, we're talking about an industry, agriculture, which you also oversee,
yes.
which exports multi-million dollars in products around the world. So is it really about economic development when we begin the Year
yes.
of the Farmer?
Year of the Farmer could not have been a better way to describe what we should celebrate in Indiana. We have over 60,000 farmers in this state and a $25 billion industry. You know, you say one of the real backbones of what makes Indiana great. Governor always said Indiana's good at two things. We make things and we grow things, and absolutely are we strong. One of the top 10 states in the nation in agriculture.
Is it soybeans?
Soybeans, corn.
Hogs,
we're number
ducks.
one in ducks and popcorn, of all things, but also poultry. Certainly you will see us in a number of the fruits, the watermelon and cantaloupe and many other fruits and vegetables, as well tomatoes. But it's just that we have this strong agricultural system that's really built on the farmer. Those 90+% of our farms are owned by families, and making sure that we don't lose as we celebrate how much we grow, it's understanding who grows it. And those are our Hoosiers that we're very, very proud of, and love that this is our year to really celebrate the farmer.
Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellsworth, thank you so much. We'll see you next week at the Indiana State Fair.
We look forward to it.
The best fair in the country, right?
Absolutely, Raphael.
You heard it from her. Indianapolis This Week is right back after this message.
Yeah.
Storm Team 6 meteorologist Kyle Mounts with a check of your Sunday forecast. More great weather coming our way this weekend. Today a little warmer, a high of 87. We'll also notice a little more in the way of humidity and that breezy southwest wind at 15 miles per hour. We're at 89 for your high in Bloomington and Columbus. Factor in that little bit of humidity. We'll have heat index values in the lower 90s, so keep that in mind. Maybe a stray shower or thunderstorm as we go into the afternoon around Lafayette and Crawfordsville, but you notice the rain chances here less than 20%. TrueCast kind of fizzles that out as we go through the evening. The Old Crow Medicine Show, one of the concerts we have going on this evening, the lawn at White River State Park. Temperatures falling from the 80s into the 70s. I think we're dry for the concert. And then tonight we are in alert mode as we have some thunderstorms which will move through mainly after midnight tonight. Marginal to slight risk of severe storms. Main impact going to be some gusty winds, possibility of some hail in those as well.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.